Okay. Gonna make a little video. Not gonna be too exciting. What I'm doing is I'm gonna create a box to do a graft into. Okay, so I'm in a bee yard here. It's got like about 30 hives. I'll maybe just do a video of the starting of it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this box into a box that I can graft into. So I'm gonna go to each hive, check them out. Hopefully they're strong enough. If they are, what I'll do is I'll take a couple of the brood frames. First I'll find the queen. Then I'll take a couple brood frames and shake all the bees off into here. Now what'll happen in that case is the bees will hit the box. Okay, all the older ones know where they live. They're back to their hive, right? So they're gonna go back to their hive, and all the young ones are gonna stay in here because they've never been out of the hive before. Those are the ones I want to create queens with. So they'll stick to this box because they don't know how to get home, basically. Okay, and I'm gonna pull frames of honey out of those boxes as well, hopefully with pollen in them. So I'm gonna leave about a two frame space here for a frame feeder. I forgot to bring it down from the house, so I'll have to get it later. But I'm gonna leave like a 2-frame space, and then the whole rest of this box is gonna be filled with hopefully honey. Okay, so I'm gonna leave a 2-frame space, and then there's gonna be 1 frame left out for the grafting frame, which I'll put in here a little later. Right now I'm just shaking them, and then I'm gonna go check out a spot where I might be able to put a new bee yard. And then later this afternoon I'll come back and graft into this hive. So I'll put the frame feeder in, and I'll graft into the frame that's in here, the grafting frame, and I'll put pollen patties on top. Even though there's resources for them, you just feed the crap out of them because they'll pull the cells better and fill the cells better with royal jelly. So anyways, I'm gonna get started. I think you can see this box behind me from that camera, so I'm just gonna start there, and I'll go back and do the rest after I turn it off. But so I'm gonna need frames to put back in, and I just happen to have like boxes of frames here, right? So I'm gonna put frames back in to replace the honey frames. But what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna put back in like good brood frames. Like that's a fantastic frame to shove in something where the queen's super active, right? So I'll pull a honey frame out. It'll end up in there. I'll put back in one of these, and I might just put it right back in the brood chamber, because in 10 days I gotta go around and steal more bees. So I'll go around and I'll steal 4 frames of brood and a frame of honey to do splits. I'll take those, put them in another full box, fill it full of frames, and I'm gonna pop these queen cells that are gonna be coming out of here into those boxes. And then that's gonna, 11 days from that point, that'll give me a queen in there laying. And by that, at that point, a lot of the frames of brood that I've put into the split will have hatched, which will give her lots of room to lay, and new queens come out of the cell, or come out of the, after mating, they come out just filling frames with eggs. So they'll fill more frames with eggs than there are bees to cover them. Then the bees will make the decision from there if they're gonna keep those eggs or get rid of them. But they're very prolific right at the start, right? This is actually the hive right here. This one here is actually the one I'm going to be grafting out of. So I'll go through it first and find a good frame to graft from and just keep track of it for later today. But this was the one that had the sheets of brood. So I'll just go through it. I'll show you what I'm doing basically. First I'll maybe just throw a couple frames in here, because if you just shake them into an empty box, they're all going to bounce. So what I call bounce this time of year. So what they'll do is you shake them into the box, they hit the box, and they automatically bounce back out and fly back to the hive. But the young ones won't want to do that. The young ones will just fly in the air and be confused. So if I give them a couple frames to stick to, instead of shaking them into an empty box, they're more apt to stay, right? They're not going to end up in the air and then finding some hive somewhere close by to go into. They'll actually, they will actually end up staying in the box, because of course it's a familiar place. It's going to have pulled frames, etc. Anyways, when I'm doing stuff like this, don't usually videotape it for one, but I also go through and I scrape all the edges of my frames and clean them up, because I'm starting a new box of bees. So I'd like to start it out in good order, right? And start it out so that the frames fit together properly. It'll get mucked up from there, but periodically as I go through hives, if I have enough time, I'll do it almost every time I go in. So I scrape off the top, scrape off the shoulders, what I call the shoulders. I don't know what other people call them, but it's where the frame is its widest, where they stack together. Okay, scrape the bottom off, scrape the bottom side of the bottom piece off. Okay, people are gonna look at this and go, holy shit, this guy's anal. Well, it just helps them to, to be better organized and do a nicer job pulling the frames. And then when I'm taking them in and out, I kill less bees. So I squish less bees. Like if there's something sticking out of this frame and I put it in and against the next frame, bees are gonna die because they're gonna get trapped in there, right? So I'm not worried about killing bees. Every time I go into a box, I kill bees by accident, right? But I just like to keep them pretty tidy, and I always do. Sometimes if they pull frames too wide, I'll even scrape the honey off and throw it on the ground, just to try and keep them so that they keep their frames fairly narrow. Anyway, get started. This one I threw a box on just in case they got big and decided to go upstairs. There's a little wee bit of honey in that. I didn't put much of a box on here. This box is actually hardly anything pulled at all. So I should actually put some frames on there that are pulled. But I also stole a bunch of brood frames out of these for my last nukes that I did. So there's not a lot of bees in here. But but there's probably a couple frames of brood because she will have been laying, right? After I took those other frames of brood, she's replacing them, but you know, it takes them 21 days before they can the cap brood starts uncapping and the population goes up. Still laying nice sheets of brood. Bees are fairly calm. Like, I usually don't work them from this side, like I'm shading the box with my body. I don't usually do that. I usually stand so that the sun is on the box. The bees aren't getting so excited at that point. Here's my queen. Right here. Nice big queen. Golden, very long queen. This one's hatched out. Where'd she go? Damn. Lost track of her for 1 second. Now I can't locate her, and I'm hoping she didn't fall to the ground. I did see something fall, but I thought it was just a young bee. Now I can't move my feet. Can't move my feet. Can't really do anything till I locate this queen again. Damn, this wasn't in the plan. That's another thing. Nothing's ever in the plan when it comes to bees, right? You gotta remember, like, she's not like the rest of the bees. She's heavy. So when you're flipping the frame around, she's got to hang on to it, right? Damn, I don't see her anywhere here. And when she drops from the frame, she could fly a little bit. So she could be, you know, within a... She's pretty big, so she's not flying too far, but she could be in a 10-foot radius here somewhere. I'll just keep my eye out. Usually they'll crawl to the top of a piece of grass or something, and you'll be able to find them again. She's definitely not on the frame. Pissed me off. Really pissed me off. Anyway. I've seen them change sides and stay out from under where you can see them. But this girl is just gone. So, there she is, down here on the ground. So she crawled up on top of the... I got her. She's a nice one. I don't know if you can see that. A big one. Anyway, so put her back on this frame. Or I'll put her on a frame. I might put her back on that other one over there. And then use this one to shake, because you can see that it's just been hatching out. So it's going to have the young bees on it that I want, right? So I'll just put her on this brood frame here. And then lean her against the hive. And then before I put that frame back in, I'll check that frame to make sure she's on there, right? So I'll just shake this down in between those two frames. See if I can find a frame with with just honey on it, right? Probably over here. Well, not a lot in this hive, honey-wise. We are in sort of a dearth right now. So this was part of the reason that I'm grafting off of this hive, is that I got like 6 frames of bees, 5 or 6 frames of bees, and I got 5 or 6 frames of brood. Like, that's what you want, right? But you want a queen that's doing that. And part of the reason she's doing that is she's a young queen. So, you know, that's part of what's going on here. And the graft I'm doing is actually, just so you know, it's for myself. So I don't care what queen. I pick a good queen. But I don't care that she's made it through a couple years, because I know that she's bred from a queen that's come through a couple years, right? Like she's I've grafted from a queen that's come through a couple years. Now, I'm doing this and I'm shaking these bees in here, and you're going, well, there's only 5 or 6 frames of bees and 5 or 6 frames of brood. What are you doing shaking bees off it? Well, all the field bees are out, so that population's going to go up, right? Right now, they're pretty much like moved off most of the brood that's in here, because it's a warm day, a warm part of the day. So they've moved off a lot of this brood. You always get one asshole in every hive that wants to sting you. And so I just kill them. Kill one bee, deal with the other 50,000 of them, right? There's my queen right here. So I know she's on here. Put her back in here. I really don't need that honey super on here yet. But because of the time of year, and the fact that, well, this one I'm not going to be worried about. I'm going to graft out of this one later today, but I'm just going to leave honey super on top, because at any point in time, we can just say, we're going to the boat, and leave. So, like, I make sure my bees have lots of room. This one I just expanded a couple days ago. I just brought it from a different yard. like 5 frames of brood in it or something when I moved it. There again, I gotta go through, gotta make sure I find the queen. Don't want to shake the queen into a grafting box. That's a no-no. If you do that, you're not making any queens. It's that simple. Here's my queen in this one. See, this one's a little bit different color. And hopefully she doesn't drop off the damn frame like the other one. So there's the queen there. She's she's darker. I actually like the dark ones. Really doesn't matter. They all do the same job. I don't know. What I started with was buckfast, which is sort of this color. So it's black, brown, black, brown, black, brown on the abdomen, right? But this one's a little darker than the buckfast I started with, so who knows why. If it's a throwback to one of the breeds that were used to make the buckfast or what it is. But anyway, I'm going to shake some out of these ones and see if there's any honey in it. Steal. No real honey in that one to steal, so not stealing. I know there's honey supers full down there if I run into that problem. There's a couple honey supers over there full. If I run into a point where I'm going through all these brood chambers and there's no honey in it, well, I'll just steal some honey frames out of my honey supers. Making the queens more important than making the queens quite a bit more important than making honey for me. I'm a bee breeder, not a honey maker. I like making honey, but if I make 1,000 pounds in a year, that's enough. Some years I make 3,000, but like there's a nice white frame of honey. I like that. Hopefully I'm gonna end up with that in my extractor, but we'll see. All these hives that are here all started out as a nuke, except for some weak ones I have in the back there. They're weak from they're just older queens that I just pulled out to replace with new queens so I could pull nukes easier. But I just leave them in a box weak until now, and now I let them build in the winter. And I'll decide on the queen in late August if she's good enough or not to put in the winter. If not, I'll take her out. Anyways, I'm gonna put up my hood because that way I can hammer through them a little harder and not worry. I think I've had one stinger I found in my hand, and I got one on the ear earlier, but I'm just being a little more aggressive than I normally am, so shaking bees and stuff, they don't really like it that much. I pulled the second frame in hoping to get a frame of honey there. And it's a frame of brood. So that shows you where these girls are at. They're probably loaded with brood. So they're on the verge of getting big. Like, look at that frame of brood. Like that's just like the one I'm gonna breed from. Okay, just like the one I'm going to breed from. Look at that. Just hardly any holes at all. And eggs and larvae right to the very outside. There's a queen cup, but it has nothing in it, so it's nothing to worry about. But it's just a solid frame of brood. The other side's not as solid. Well, it is actually. Every single hole in here has a larva in it that's, you know, probably getting close to a week old. So she laid all these empty holes. Now that could have came from the beginning of the year, could have came from a lot of different things. Maybe the cells were full of pollen, they cleaned them out, now she's got brood in them. Anyways, I don't see her on here, so we'll just give this one a shake. This is before I put that super on. They probably pulled this down. I just get rid of it. This is another really nice frame of brood. And in this hive they're up into the honey super, so I can take an extra shake or two if I want. And just knock them back a little bit. They'll maybe come down out of the honey super, take care of brood. Here's a queen in this one. Right there. She's almost black. Not quite. Anyways, I'll be able to shake some more out of this one. Anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'll fill this full of honey, leave 3 spaces, 2 for the feeder, 1 for the grafting frame. Fill the rest full of honey and pollen. Fill the feeder. Put some pollen patties on top when I graft this afternoon. I don't know if I'll remember to make another video then or not. But that's just what I'm doing, just going through all these. I'll go through the whole 30. Take some bees. I'm not weakening them too much because all the field bees are out. They'll come back, they'll be able to cover the brood that I'm shaking them off. Okay? Anyway, talk to you.